Back to World Crisis Radio. So a program of immediate agitation to fight the Depression, to fight the Wall Street Democrats, and to fight the reactionary Republicans, the legions of greed who are now trooping in increased numbers. First point, no cutting, no gutting. No cutting or gutting of Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, unemployment benefits, or any other necessary part of the social safety net. Number two, 1% Wall Street sales tax. Let the zombie bankers pay for the depression they've created. 3, stop fraud closures. More about this in a minute. 5-year freeze on foreclosures on primary residences of Americans, and especially if the bank benefited from bailout money or Federal Reserve money. That means all of them. They've all benefited. And 4, to get some credit for production, since the zombie bankers sit there and use all credit to keep their bankrupt derivatives going, seize the $600 billion to $1 trillion QE2, the quantitative easing 2, which Bernanke wants to give again to the zombie bankers, and reroute it. Let's hijack it. Let's make a detour. That money goes to national infrastructure, 100 reactors, 1,000 hospitals, 100,000 miles of maglev, rebuild the interstates, rebuild the water systems, and then maybe also think about your science drivers, your biomedical research, including now artificial life, nanotechnology. You want to increase your space program with manned exploration, colonization, and industrial production on the moon and Mars, and, of course, your high-energy physics, plasma physics, and related fields so you can get new energy sources down the road. That is, so to speak, the program. And the fifth point is, of course, the investments in national infrastructure, which we've gone through. If you think of it as a heart attack patient, if the guy's heart has stopped beating, he may need a transfusion, okay? There's your credit coming in, right? 0% federal credit for production. But you got to have a defibrillator. You've got to get the heart going. And to jog that into place, you've got to have this ambitious, massive program of national infrastructure for job creation and economic recovery. Now, just on the fraud closure front, Obama and his gang have done everything possible to suppress this as an issue, but it's not working. On the Last Word program, MSNBC, the night before last, middle of the week, we had a mortgage banker it's not a mortgage banker, a mortgage lawyer. This is like a defense lawyer. He wants to defend you from foreclosure. A mortgage lawyer from Alabama. Interesting testimony. He points to the HAMP. HAMP is Obama's alleged program to do something to protect homeowners from foreclosure. The cynical way this is being used, and probably designed that way by Obama, Geithner, Summers, Bernanke, and the gang, with no interference from Shapiro at the SEC, Gansler at Commodity Futures Trading Corporation, or John Walsh. Get to know him. John Walsh, the infamous controller of the currency, acting. Here's what you do. The unscrupulous mortgage service gang, all of them, unscrupulous services of mortgagers, say, oh, I see you're having trouble paying your payment here, and you're in danger of foreclosure. In order to qualify for HAMP, right, the Homeowners Mortgage Assistance Program, I guess it is, you've got to be in default. So if you're managing to make your payment, you can't qualify for HMP. So stop making your payment, and of course, once you've stopped making the payment, they foreclose on you before you know what hit you. In other words, they lie. This is a complete fraud, but it's a fraud in which the Obama regime is conniving, because they designed this, and their regulators are letting this go on. So essentially, you think that you're going to get help from HAMP, but long before HAMP even knows about your case, the sheriff is already there, and you're out on the street, and your family is homeless. So HAMP is worse than nothing. And out of this also comes, you know, this song and dance you always hear, oh, the bankers don't really want to foreclose. The bankers don't want to foreclose. Well, maybe not the bankers, but the servicers, and there are officials in the game, as this Alabama mortgage lawyer pointed out. There are people there who do want to foreclose because they get big fees. There's a lot of money to be made off your ruin. and there are jackals and hyenas around there who are eagerly running to make sure that these foreclosures take place because they want to get the fees. So the only answer to this is a uniform federal law. Stop foreclosures. Foreclosures are banned, not for 5 years, not on anybody's primary residence. You get one place to live. That's it, but one place. And we also heard this very interesting testimony. Maxine Waters under attack. And you don't have to like her, right? It doesn't matter whether you like her or not. The point is that millions of people are being thrown out on the streets. Worry about liking them. Don't worry about the politicians you don't like. Any good done by anybody in this situation is welcome. It's rare enough. And if you want to hold out for subjects who are completely flawless and without sin, you're going to be waiting a long time. So Waters has, she's got people there at her hearing. She's got the Treasury. She's got the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency within Treasury. She's got the Federal Housing Administration. She's got the Federal Housing Finance Administrator, DeMarco, another conniver, another guy who's on the inside of this scheme. Housing and Urban Development, and a number of others. So they're testifying, and basically she says, do you realize what happens? Do you realize that it's impossible for the homeowner under attack to even get in telephone contact with the mortgage servicer? And this entire panel, it's worth looking for it on C-SPAN on the weekend if you can find it. It shows that the officials of the Obama administration are as bad as any reactionary Republican. When you hear it, it sounds like there's Maxine Waters and a bunch of Republican hacks who are interested in having foreclosures, except they're not Republican hacks. These are now political appointees of Obama or otherwise creatures of the Obama administration, right, acting under his orders. And essentially the long silences, she would say, well, what can you do to help a homeowner in this situation? John Walsh, in particular, deserves to live in infamy with his bureaucratic boilerplate answer to these questions. Oh, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, once again, Walsh, is asked by Maxine Waters, have you levied any fines against mortgage servicers? No, no fines. Have you shut them down? Have you threatened to revoke their charters? No. So there are no teeth. There are no penalties. You can run wild. You can steal American homes. You can throw the middle class out on the street. And the Obama administration, their hand-picked bureaucratic cast of characters is completely impotent, completely on the side of the zombie bankers, of course, from Geithner on down in the Treasury and all the rest of them. So this is a tragic situation. The only answer, once again, stop these foreclosures. Now, we want to transition into the question of the austerity ghouls who have been coming out. Last week we said that Halloween had come late because the austerity ghouls and austerity vampires had come out in the form of the Bowles-Simpson or BS Austerity Commission. This is the so-called Cat Food Commission, BS Commission, whichever you like. But now they've been joined by others. We have the Domenici-Rivlin austerity ghouls and their draconian, Schachtian austerity recommendations. Very interesting. Alice Rivlin is one of the queens of the austerity ghouls. This woman was the OMB director, the budget director under Clinton in his first term, and she has been a deficit hawk. She has been an exponent of Malthusian Schachtian economics. These are the death panels of the United States. It's not just that there are death panels in Medicare. These are the death panels that will preside over the destruction of the United States if their lunatic measures are taken. We'll be back in a minute on World Crisis Radio.